Today we're gonna talk about tilt and stress. We're gonna start with tilt, also known as fight or flight response. In the context of competitive gaming, tilt is easily the most overgeneralized term. People always refer to it as anger or loss of focus, which is not incorrect, but the way focus is lost is very important to understand. If you do so, then you will know what process to take in order to fix it. But before we talk about fixing or anything like that, let's understand what tilt is actually and what happens in our brain. You may or you may not know that tilt comes from poker as a term actually. When a player starts to make poor decisions or their facial expressions are given away, that means that they are on tilt. It means that emotions overtook them. What about the brain part though? The medical or psychological term for tilt is actually called amygdala hijack. Now, if you excuse me for a second, let me just yoink the definition real quick, straight out of Wikipedia. An amygdala hijack refers to a personal emotional response that is immediate, overwhelming and out of measure with the actual stimulus because it has triggered a much more significant emotional threat. In other words, when we are feeling threatened, our emotions overtake our ability to make decisions. This is all we really need to know to understand the root cause of tilt. But if you're interested in learning more about amygdala hijacks or just tilt in general, I've provided some studies in the description if you're up for it. One big misconception is that sometimes people confuse tilt with stress. I want to make the distinction very clear because this one is quite important. Stress can sometimes be beneficial. When we feel a little bit of stress, a little bit of pressure, we tend to focus a lot better than when we are relaxed. The only real problem is when stress overtakes us. This is when stress becomes tilt. And I want you to keep in mind that there are multiple types of tilt and multiple types of stress. So let's break them down, shall we? Internal light tilt, which is a low stress form of tilt. This one comes from your own actions, such as making a misplay. This kind of tilt, as long as it's kept to a minimum, will develop critical thinking, because you will ask yourself what went wrong, what could you do to improve to no longer make that misplay. However, if this tilt keeps happening and happening, you will get internal heavy tilt, which is a high stress tilt. Basically full gamer mode. The difference between heavy and light tilt is the frequency. If you made many mistakes, then you will be quite mad. You feel very threatened, and every decision you make from now on is gonna be worse, and in the worst case scenario, you will give up. The next tilt type, it's a low stress one, but it's quite annoying still. It's RNG, basically you get running gunned, or something else happens, but it has to be something about the game. This is probably the least impactful tilt, as everybody, or at least most of you, will get over it. Another tilt type is external tilt. This one is a very high stress one, and is probably the one that affects most of you. This is because this one can stem from real life events as well. If you had a rough day at school, or you had a fight with your friends, it's very likely that you're probably tilted. You are also prone to seeing your teammates' mistakes more often, which will lead to further tilt. But the main idea is that you are tilted over things that you have no control over, which you should never do really. If you are tilted because of real life events, then don't play the game for that day, or at least make sure that you are as untilted as possible before playing. But you should never care about what mistakes a teammate makes, or about what he said to you. Like, after all, do you care about him getting better, or about you getting better? Lastly, internal to external tilt, also known as gamer stress. This type of tilt is the most dangerous one. Avoid it at all costs. You start by getting mad at your actions, but then you also externalize them. You start flaming your teammates. So now what do you get? You are tilted, your teammates are tilted, everybody's tilted. Good luck winning the game. If you get to this point, you should probably want to take a break. The next games will be even rougher. Okay, but how do we actually master tilt? How do we master our emotions? You probably understand what tilt type you have now, so you can skip through the video to the most relevant section for you. Internal tilt. This one involves you being honest with yourself. Most of the time we overestimate ourselves, our abilities to perform. This is especially true for the people who practice a lot. And to be honest, it's quite granted. You're putting in the effort, you expect to perform. But it doesn't happen then, and that's why we get frustrated. Let's fix that. To prevent this kind of tilt, you need to understand that there is no real pressure to perform in ranked. All you get is worthless RR. RR is just a number. Are you going to let yourself defined by a number? I wouldn't think so. Just relax. Play the game for the fight, not for the trophy. You really need to understand that you're in for the long run. You shouldn't care about your immediate performance. You should only care about your performance in a year from now. A year might be a bit much, but you get the idea. Even though you should keep critiquing yourself, you should maintain a healthy balance between critiquing and praising yourself. If you keep flaming yourself, you will only get depressed. External tilt. Good news. This one is a little bit easier to fix than internal tilt. First off, like I was saying earlier, if you had a rough day, do not play the game. You already have mental baggage, you don't have to amplify it. And second of all, you really need to understand that you're the only constant in your games. Teammates are random, they are uncontrollable. There is no reason to get mad at them. People will play randomly at all ranks, but you should understand that enemies are random too, they will play randomly as well. They will make mistakes just like your teammates do. I like to think of it as this way. If I only care about the random aspects, I will never get myself better. Therefore, I should not care about the random, and I should only care about the constants. The constant being you in this situation. This might seem small, but it will go a long way, believe me. Internal to external tilt. Thankfully, fixing either of the previously mentioned tilt types should make this one go away on its own. However, anomalies can still happen, so I'll still talk about it. Picture yourself in this scenario. You want to improve, you get some information about how you improve, you start applying some of the stuff you've learned, but you do not know how to control your emotions. You make a mistake, you get mad at yourself. And then you see a teammate make a mistake, and then you get mad at him. And then everyone gets mad. You already know that this game is lost, and most likely the rest of your day is ruined. In my opinion, the best way to fix this is to sit down and have a talk with yourself. You really need to understand that great players will never flame their team, and most importantly, they also have high confidence. They will never flame themselves, at least not publicly. They will flame themselves in their mind because they want to get better, but they don't overdo it, they know how to balance this. They make a mistake, they make a mental note, or maybe they will review their games after, it doesn't matter. The main idea is that they understand how important mental is, so they don't shatter that confidence, ever. And they also understand how important teamwork is. That's why they don't flame their teammates. What benefits are there to flaming your team? There is nothing. So if you convince yourself of these two things, then you will probably get better. As an ending note, I want to mention that even if we master our emotions, we will still slip sometimes. That's okay. We are humans. Sometimes our demons will win the battle. What's important is that we win the war.